condolences, I express them to the Geza family. You may want to know that I've historically been very close to that family because two of its fiddlings are still alive after going to the war. It's a very heroic family or clan. In the war, we used to have one of the security bases which Comrade Tongogara named Spesintin. He was one of the early fighters who fell, very, very heroic, and General Tongogara felt it was a due honor for one of the bases where we were staying during the war to be named after Pesintin. He belongs to the Geza clan. His other brother is Sam Geza, who was among the leadership of the Zipa during the war, which came from, which took over the running of the war and revived the armed struggle in Mozambique, a joint effort by Zanla and Zipra, which started the war. They dispatched 700 fighters by a ship called Mapinduzi from Tanzania to come into Mozambique. They are the ones who recruited. I'm among those pioneer refugees into Mozambique in 1975. So these 600, they did a lot for Zimbabwe. They opened the front in 1975. But they also became the training corps of the thousands of cadres, of refugee, recruits who were in Mozambique that time. And they shortened the turnaround time of deployment to the front because we had a homegrown military training corps in Mozambique, which could quickly convert recruits into soldiers. So our reinforcement rate by 1976 was so phenomenal that it forced the Rhodesians and the West to go to Geneva for talks. His brother Sam is still alive. We had a meeting. He was my lecturer at Chitepo College in the war. I told you the parties going back to school by those seminars. We actually had such formal teaching under the trees during the war. And Sam Geza was actually my lecturer, my professor at the Chitepo School of College. After I had been wounded at the front, I became a cadre to be trained in political ideology, higher level political ideology. Unfortunately, he got caught up in the Ashanti thing, and he left the armed struggle in 1977 and was exiled to Cabo Delgado. We had a meeting. They came to the Museum of African Liberation to see me because they had gaps in the life of Geza, which I had because I met Geza in 1975 when Mozambique opened the refugee camp. Where a few hundred suddenly grew to thousands, and Geza was among them. So I've known him from the beginning of the resumption of the struggle in Mozambique. Of course, later he left. He didn't go to the front. He went to training for additional training in Romania from 1977. And he only came back home after 2 years into independence in 1982. That's when I met him again, but he was coming from Romania. I was very active from 2013 onwards in fighting against the usurpation of power, the attempts of trying to set up a dynasty by the First Republic's first president. He is one who brought me into play in the fight against the G40s. I've got a lot which I can talk about Geza. And he also had excess funds which he used generously to support the war veterans. And for you who may remember 2017, 2016, there was an attempt to arrest Mahia and Matemadanda, by clandestine police operation by the G40s. And they were looking for them. For your own information, they were hiding at Sanyat, at Geza's farm. Comrade Ambassador Matemadanda, who is now in Mozambique, and Comrade Mahia, who is the Secretary of War Veterans Affairs in the new organ of the Politburo. So for us, as a comrade, we worked with for that very difficult time of safeguarding this permanent Zimbabwe revolution. He became ill, and when you are ill, anything, you become vulnerable. And of course, the detractors saw an opportunity to try to use him, and they abused him to say some outrageous things about the leadership of the party. You know, look, as war veterans, we say it was unfortunate that such a misfortune befell him of being ill, and he became vulnerable to being abused by those who all feel that hanging on to the heritage of the Zimbabwe revolution gives them some legitimacy. Within their own capacities, they are zero. They have a vacuum. They look for validation from those who fought the war each time. Because they have their own, they don't have any yardstick or self-validation other than trying to poach from the national liberation struggle and the exploits of the heroes of Zimbabwe. So, look, that's what happens in a democracy. I wasn't around. I was in Mombasa when his body finally buried. I definitely would have been available at his burial for personal reasons, personal bonds, and for the things which he did when we worked together against the G40s. He was at the forefront. And it was that aspect which they then tried to turn against ZANU-PF, because within themselves they have nothing to offer. They are vacuum. They sell water they sell petrol as the cure of cancer. Their message has no content, and they always are groping for validation, like I said, from the National Liberation Movement and its heroes. We have enough heroes. We buried another one yesterday. So look, if they attempt to steal one or two, let them be. We have no shortage of heroes in our camp if they attempt to steal one or two. But all the same, we pay. I want to honor him as a comrade, both pre-independence and after independence. And I cleared that view with my principal. He also shares the same sentiments. I think.
So this is the current situation we are having in our country, Zimbabwe. Isusu sekuruga zvinzi media tiri pakutsvagira nyaya, tinouya nenyaya sezvadziri, hatiwedzeri kana kutapudza. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your love and support. I am signing out.